more women needed on the labor market. But at the end of the day, we can be proud of ourselves because we could convince the policymakers and politicians that early childhood education and care, including prenatal, good quality prenatal care, a joyful birth and its circumstances, it is such an added value, and compared to the later years, it's much cheaper as a preventive measure also, that the quality has to be taken into consideration together with the quantity issues. But in the new Lisbon strategy, this is a big achievement that is there. The other thing is obviously that children's rights, so the rights of the child has been recognized throughout Europe. It's part of now of the treaties, and although we are not very happy that the communication from the Commission is as weak as it is compared to our previous desire or dreams about a very strong child rights based strategy, or even more ambitiously putting the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child as a framework for Europe. We failed to achieve that, but we don't stop here. But at least there is the communication, and there is a clear commitment of the Commission and the EU member states to take into consideration the rights of the child as a basis to all approaches. Well, actually, as far as the participation is concerned, again, there is an easy way of doing it. If you are supporting parents and professionals to consider the active participation of children from the first days of their life, then they grow into this activity and they are becoming active citizens. What I'm saying is that even a newborn can give very clear signs of his or her wishes. I mean, the way they are crying, the way they can express their satisfaction, it's a very clear sign, and this is already participation. If parents or caregivers are not understanding these messages of a newborn or an infant, then obviously the child learns that his or her feelings are not important, and later on their behavior is in accordance with this early misunderstanding, because this is then becoming a communication problem between adults and children. But if the adults learn how to translate babies' signs, body language, and also their wishes, and they can provide them with the needed care and emotional support, then kids learn that they are important, unique. They are growing up with a good self-estimation and a feeling of self-worth, but also understand that if their desires are met, then they also have to take into consideration others. So children's rights are taught in an automatic way, so to say, and this also means that children learn that not only their rights are important, but others also. So they only respect others if they are well respected. And then you don't have to put it into any curriculum separately, because it is becoming a so-called organic development or procedure. And then what we adults have to be aware of is the developmental needs of children. So we know that at a certain age what is appropriate for a child to make decisions independently, and where do they need guidance. And then children are following these regulations because they are rational and it's good for them and they can understand that, and we are there for them. So then they are respecting adults, and the number of conflicts and problems are decreasing. And obviously it also means that those vulnerable groups of children who need extra support should be given this extra support by providing them with more protection than those children who are coming from good enough circumstances. So roughly that's how I see participation. So I don't think that we have to put extra efforts into participation of children, but we have to live our life in a way that it is part of it as any other activity or participation. It is also, of course, causing a number of conflict situations, because adults were not brought up like that. So for many adults, this is really hard to accept children's activities and active participation. It is hard for them to listen to children's voices and opinions or take it into consideration, but that's the learning procedure and we have to exercise it every day. As I said, I guess children's rights shouldn't be taught in themselves, so it should be part of the curriculum, it should be part of the kindergarten life, because if you ask a child, what would you like to eat, how would you like to sleep in the afternoon? I remember when I went to kindergarten, we had to sleep, it was compulsory, and I couldn't. So obviously I was a naughty girl, because I was making noise, I was, well, disturbing, so to say, the normal life in the kindergarten. Now obviously it had nothing to do with my rights and my body's and mind's needs, so obviously I was misbehaving. So if you are really taking seriously children's rights, then you have to resolve these kind of conflicts by understanding what is good for the individual child and what is good for the community and the other groups, just like in the adult world. Now, as far as the committee is concerned, this is a very complex issue and it is hard to give a brief answer, because the committee is struggling a lot with the lack of resources, especially when it comes to the monitoring and implementation of the concluding observations and the convention as a whole. And it is really heartbreaking to meet many NGOs and governments from all over the world where we can see that despite of the efforts or the goodwill, they are not in a position to implement fully children's rights. And even in the richest and most affluent countries, there are many issues to tackle. What the committee can do is obviously working hard, having a very constructive dialogue with the NGOs and the state parties, putting together as perfect concluding observations as possible, writing new general comments, organizing the general days of discussion, and all the members, like I myself, are going wherever we are invited to speak, to meet children, professionals, lay people, whoever are interested in us, and also convincing politicians. Now there is a very important new element coming soon, as you probably know, that the CRC committee is working on the complaint mechanism, individual complaint mechanism, which would give us a new opportunity to analyze concrete complaints made by children or on behalf of children. This hasn't been decided yet. And that would give us a deeper insight into certain things, because the country reports and even the dialogue is not giving us a full comprehensive picture, and we very often feel that we would need more details. Now the individual complaints are an excellent tool, we hope, although we don't see what capacity will be there to analyze these complaints when they arrive. As I said, the human resources and all other resources are very limited for the time being, but we hope that if the GE is improving the individual complaint mechanism, then the committee and the secretariat will have additional resources.